worshipping power, or you're worshipping virtue. And I don't have, it's not even the capacity, I don't have the desire to do a 180 on carefully reasoned arguments for the sake of emotional comfort. The whole point of the reasoned arguments is to get to the truth. And if there is then some standard called, well, you have all of these reasoned arguments, all of these carefully assembled syllogisms and all of this carefully constructed chain of evidence and causality, but it'll make you feel better if you do X. It's like, well, then what the hell was the point of that? What was the point of decades of philosophy? What was the point of the suffering that philosophy has at times engendered within me? The isolation, the fracturing of relationships, the discontent, the knowledge of what is coming unless we change course. What was the point of all of that suffering? And this is not an argument, you could say fallacy of some comments, I understand all of that, but what was the point of all of that hot-footed pursuit of truth? That, there was an old, they call it trial by fire, right? There was an old methodology for pretending you knew something about guilt or innocence in the past, in sort of medieval Europe and places, where you had to grab an iron out of a hot fire. If you were accused of a crime, you had to grab an iron out of a hot fire, you'd pull it out, and you'd let it go. Then if your wound became infected, you were guilty, and if your wound did not become infected, you were innocent. The trial by fire. They also did it where you would reach in for boiling water. So, what was the point of that trial by fire? If all I had to do was wish, if all I had to do was believe, if all I had to do was hope things came true and things became real. And again, if God spoke to me tomorrow, or tonight, or now, I have an earpiece in one ear, nothing in the other.
Nothing in the other.
Then I would accept and absorb that as, okay, something has changed. But I do not have the capacity to wish things into existence. I do not have the capacity to will things into material form. And I can't go back. And it's not like I have this huge desire to go back, but I just know you're not allowed because I can't. And I don't think, as a society, we can. We must push forward to philosophy. Going back, I don't see how that's possible. Even if I change my mind about all of this tomorrow, and said I'm going to join the Church of Reason, I'm going to bring my formidable rhetorical skills to this endeavor, I still don't think it would be enough. The challenge is to get the atheists to stop being socialists and nihilists. That has been my challenge for the past little while, and I think there's some progress in that area, but we have to work pretty damn hard and harshly in this area. All right, I'm going to move on to the next caller, but I hope that this helps, and I really do appreciate the questions that you brought up. But we got like 7 callers tonight, which is going to be like an 8-hour show unless I move on. But thanks very much, Tibor. I appreciate your question.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, up next we have Cornelius. He wrote in and said, an old friend of mine has been on a self-destructive path for the better part of a decade with no signs of stopping. While I have no longer any desire to help her out of her hole, I do think I have an obligation too, and have acted upon a perceived obligation to help my other friend deal with the problem, which more or less makes me an accessory to an intervention. Do you think that there is any way to avoid being dragged into the main conflict by choosing this route, or will I inevitably
short book about this when I first sent my email, so I think I'll just kind of condense it here. Basically, she is, I guess for the better part of 7 years, she has just made one terrible decision after another, and it's culminated in her getting married to a Tunisian man who is a few years older than her, pressured by his parents, is violent, sexually frustrated, all of the above. And, she's thinking, oh, maybe I'll move in with him and his parents when they move to Qatar. So there's even more stuff, but that's the basic gestalt, if you will.
What does she have for a job?
She used to. I mean, that also plays in. It's her mother that's been paying for all this stuff. So,
Is she pretty?
She had something once. She does take care of her image, but her image is not good at all.
Why do you think she's on a self-destructive path?
Well, I mean, it all started back in high school with her parents' divorce. She just started going into the whole drinking, drugs, partying thing, like full hog, because her parents weren't there to basically say stop.